All right, guys, welcome to this episode of Maxim Outdoors. I'm back here at the Promised Land State Park, our 14th state park for the channel, and we're going to be tackling Conservation Island today. So what else do you need to know? Let's go do another hike. All right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of my little journey out to Promised Land State Park out here in Pike County, northeastern Pennsylvania, my 14th state park in my state park series. So anyway, this is going to be probably a pretty easy short video here. I'm doing the Conservation Island Trail today. It's only 1 mile, so I'm going to take my good old time and try to get some good time lapses and cool views along the way. See some of these mountain laurel getting ready to bloom here on the side of me, as well as tons and tons of lilies for pretty much as far as you can see. So yeah, 1 mile Conservation Island loop, one of the most popular trails here at Promised Land State Park. Big thunderstorm is blowing in, so we're gonna hopefully beat that by the time we get done here. So anyway, what are we waiting for? Let's go check out Conservation Island. Well, just when you start this trail, you have to cross this old, probably CCC built stone bridge. It's pretty unique looking, and I believe it connects the upper and lower lake. I could be wrong though, this might just be all Promised Land Lake. And if you missed last week's episode, I kind of explained Promised Land has 2 separate lakes, the upper, or the Promised Land Lake, the upper lake, and the lower lake. And this whole area is surrounded by Delaware State Forest. It's about 3,000 acres, and this was one of the original state parks established back in 1904. So yeah, this is all in fact part of Promised Land Lake. This is just a little channel that kind of divides from the island to the main lake. But I don't know if you can see it too well. The wind is starting to pick up. They are calling for severe thunderstorms today, so definitely starting to feel like it out here. And we barely even started this trail. All right, well, here we are, officially on Conservation Island. So we've got some hemlock trees, as well as some pine trees here as well. But I already said it, 1 mile loop trail. There is a trail that kind of cuts through the middle that we'll probably check out as well. But as you can see, nice wide open trail, heavily trafficked. Probably the most popular trail here in the park. So we'll see what we can see. Hopefully we get some nice views of the lake, get a couple time lapses, and yeah, I said probably gonna be a shorter video. If you missed out on last week's little adventure doing the Little Falls Trail, make sure you go see that. That was a very, very awesome trail to do. One of the best trails I've done this year. All right, nice look at one of the back channels here at Promised Land State Park. And way in the distance there, it's a very nice sized beaver dam. As I was looking at that, I turned to my right. I noticed some more signs of beaver here. As you can see, these were gnawed off. Looks like a long time ago, but you can definitely see some evidence of beaver in this area. So one other little thing that I just read about this area, Pennsylvania is known for its logging. Basically the whole state was logged down to nothing back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and this area was no different. So back in the 1900s, they actually referred to this area, the Promised Lands, as the Great Pennsylvania Desert, because there was nothing here. Obviously the CCC came and planted pretty much all the trees that you see now. A lot of them are the descendants of the trees that the CCC boys planted. But yeah, just to think about this whole area, even this island here, just being totally clear cut and empty. So yeah, the Great Pennsylvania Desert is what they referred to this as. So good view at pretty darn big beaver dam and some gnaws. Another thing that I touched on in last week's video, if you missed that one, is where the name Promised Land came from. So from what I've read, there's two different instances. One being which there was some settlers that came to the area. They planted crops, trees, basically try to make a home here. Ended up failing because the conditions of the terrain was too rocky. They ended up leaving the area, and they kind of sarcastically referred to this area as the Promised Land after leaving. The other story I heard was there were some settlers, colonists, whatever you want to call them, over in Delaware, New Jersey, maybe even Virginia, not really sure, that wanted to move west basically, and everybody said, you know, go west towards the Promised Land, and they're referring to this area here. Not really sure which one is the true meaning behind the name of the park, but yeah. Alrighty, well, I guess this signifies the halfway point. This is kind of like the cut through area. Looks actually pretty cool back there. Very rocky, but we're gonna keep heading on the main loop, and maybe we'll cut through there on the way back if we don't get blown away. Not really sure what this is either. It's like a separate trail. Let me check this out, I guess. Alrighty, continuing on around the island. As you can see, this trail is just about as bad as the trail I did last week. Not very well maintained at all. Although this is kind of like a side trail. You don't have to come this way necessarily. But still, I mean, bring a weed whacker back here once a month. You hear the trees shaking and making noises. They always kind of freak you out when you're in the middle of the woods. It sounds like people talking. They rub the right way. A big old, I think this is a Norway pine here. But yeah, you can see, not very well maintained. And the storm is blowing in. So I'd like to make it back to the truck before I get poured on, but it is what it is. You can see there's blazes on the rock here. And it looks like somewhat of a opening coming up ahead, hopefully. Or not. Oh geez. Like literally bent down in here. Alright. Not really sure which way the trail goes here. But a nice look at the main portion of Promised Land Lake. Also, I guess some good advice if you ever get stuck out on the trail and you know a storm's blowing in like I do right now, and maybe you're not as lucky as me and I'm only a mile away from the truck. As you're hiking, you kind of want to scout out some good areas if you have to go back and backtrack. You don't want to hike into like an open field or a beach or anything and get stuck out in the elements. So I just passed a pretty thick pine area back there. That would be a nice little spot to set up, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. You always want to find the low ground as well. You never want to be, you know, on top of a mountain or a hill. You never want to be on top of anything really whenever there's a thunderstorm coming through, for obvious reasons. So low ground with some safe cover. You don't want to stand under an old shaggy tree that's going to fall on you. All right, looks like we made it back to the main part of the trail, and an even nicer view of Promised Land State Park here, where the lake really opens up. Nice view of Promised Land Lake here. I did just look at my map, and this jut of land here is actually Pickerel Point Campground, and it's kind of just a big peninsula that goes out and comes back in. But that is one of 5 campgrounds here at Promised Land State Park. I'm staying in the Lower Lake Rhododendron Loop. So all kinds of options here for camping. They have beaches, pavilions, you name it. Family friendly trails, or trails like I did last week where it's pretty rough, but a little bit of everything. The park has it all. What is up with this park and making me go through places like this? Alright, well, we made it through the Mountain Laurel jungle there, and seemingly looks like we're at a dead end now. But I did want to point out some of the wildflowers back here. Some of the Mountain Laurel are blooming. You see a white one back there. This one's going to bloom in a couple days. And then if you come over here, there's some pink variety of them. This guy here, and this one bloomed. Or maybe they just look pink and then they bloom and turn white, but there's a very good shot at a freshly bloomed mountain laurel. Also Pennsylvania's state flower. There you have it. So I'm guessing we have to go through this little passageway here. I'm guessing, I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. All right, I think we're officially back on the main trail now. So that should make navigating a little easier. I took another little spur trail and it led me to this area here. You can see the very end of Pickerel Point all the way down there, where you can see kind of like a beach area, as well as some of these private residencies, I guess. That's the one thing, well, there's a few different things about this park, but I thought it was kind of interesting that almost all this park is surrounded by privately owned residential housing, including like these ones across from us here. So it definitely gives it a different style of feel compared to your typical state parks, at least in Western Pennsylvania. Maybe this is more of a Eastern PA thing, but just seeing a bunch of residential houses around a state park is a little different, but some views of them for you. Well, I talked about these in my last video, but this is pretty crazy here. I believe these are those gypsy moths that everybody is talking about, but this tree is just absolutely covered in them. Like, there has to be 1,000 of them at least. As I was sleeping last night, I think I was underneath an oak tree, I kept hearing like little bits hitting my tree. I thought they were originally like pieces of leaf or whatnot. Well, it turned out it was their poop. I guess they go up in these trees, eat all the leaves, and as they're eating, they just poop all over the place. But you can see a lot of the leaves have holes and stuff in them, but it's from these guys, which I believe are the gypsy moths, another invasive species from China. Go figure. All right, well, we didn't make it back to the start of the trail, but there's something in me that wants to go back and check out that central trail, which is right here. So I'm gonna hike up here and check that out, because it looked like there was some cool big old boulders and stuff up here. So let's go check that out, and then we'll wrap up this episode here. Promised Land State Park, Conservation Island. So number 112, that's where I'm at, and heading towards, I think it was 113. See if this has anything cool back here. All right, well, I think this is it. It looked a little cooler looking up at it, but I don't really see any other large rocks. I think this. All right, well, this is what's at the end of the rainbow here, at the end of this little short spur trail. Only took me about 10 minutes to get back here, but definitely some cool looking boulders pretty much in the middle of nowhere on an island. Glaciers probably threw them up there millions and millions of years ago, and I'm sure rattlesnake probably like this area as well. But yeah, pretty cool looking. All right, everyone. Well, that's gonna wrap up my little short hike here on Conservation Island at Promised Land State Park. It was a fun little trail. Definitely had a lot of side trails and spur trails to do. Recommend doing it all. I mean, it only took me maybe 2 hours, and I was with a lot of stops, a lot of filming. So we're getting back onto the main trail here, heading back to the truck. Should be there within 10 minutes. And as soon as I start heading back, it starts raining. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode from Promised Land State Park. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, leave me a comment, check me out on Instagram and Facebook. You know the deal by now. All right, guys, see you from somewhere else next week.